Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Ali Rupian. I'm gonna explain about historical recount Uni Soviet and Nazi. My group name is first Putra Fajar Anjaya, number 2 is Muhammad Andi Pramudia, number 3 is Muhammad Zaki Cesar Alvaro, number 4 is me Muhammad Ali Rupian. Hitler and Stalin retaining their position through the spring and summer of 1939. Hitler stepped up his demand on the Polish government in Warsaw and pushed for allowing Germany to reclaim the port city of Danzig to former German city internationalist by the Treaty of Versailles. Hitler also wanted a put stop to alleged mistreatment of German living in the western region of Poland. At the same time, he advanced his plans for taking Poland in August 1939. If his demands were not met, however, Hitler's fervor for a war with Poland made his generals nervous. They knew Stalin purge of his military commands in 1937 and 1938 had seriously weakened the Soviet army, but the Germans were leader of campaign that could easily lead to nightmare faced in World War I, a two-front war in which they would be fighting Russian troops in the east and French and British troops in the west. To avoid such a scenario, Hitler had consciously begun exploring the possibility of thaw in relation with Stalin. Several brief diplomatic exchanges in May 1939 visited by the next month, but in July, as tension continued building across Europe and all major powers were feverishly casting about for potential allies, Hitler foreign minister dropped hints to Moscow that if Hitler invaded Poland, the Soviet Union might be permitted some Polish territory. This caught Stalin's attention. On August 20, Hitler sent a personal message to several premiers. War with Poland was imminent. If Hitler sent his foreign minister to Moscow for a vitally important discussion, will Stalin receive him? Stalin said yes. German and Soviet make a deal. On August 22, 1939, German Foreign Minister Joachim von Ribbentrop is born in 1893 and died in 1946, flew from Berlin to Moscow. He was soon inside the Kremlin face to face with Stalin and Soviet Foreign Minister Vyacheslav Molotov, who had been working with von Ribbentrop to negotiate an agreement. The Soviet minister is also the namesake for the incendiary device known as a Molotov cocktail. Ribbentrop carried a proposal from Hitler that both countries commit to a negotiation pact that would last 100 years. Stalin replied that 10 years would be sufficient. The proposal also stipulated that neither country will give any third party that take either signatory. Finally, the proposal contained a secret protocol specifying the spheres of influence in Eastern Europe. Both parties would accept after Hitler conquered Poland. The Soviet Union would acquire the eastern half of Poland, along with Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia. During the Kremlin meeting, Ribbentrop several times teleported Hitler, who was nervously awaiting news of his counter estate in Bavaria. Finally, in his early hour of notes in Hitler 1936 and 1945, nemesis the German challenger was ecstatic. He congratulated his foreign minister and said the pact will hit like a bombshell. It neutralized the French-Soviet treaty, which would reassure Hitler general and cleared in the way for German attack on Poland.
Public part of the Moscow Agreement was announced with great fanfare on August 25, 1939, the day Hitler had planned to launch his blitzkrieg, quick, breach, and attack strike is into Poland. Earlier this Sunday, However, Great Britain and France, knowing the Nazi-Soviet agreement was pending, reacted by formalizing their pledge to Poland in treaty, declaring earth would give in Poland's defense if it were attacked. Hitler was incensed by this entourage but quickly cancelled his order of the invasion that in a wild gamble the French and Great Britain would not meet their treaty obligation to Poland, and knowing he had nothing to fear from the Soviet army, Hitler ordered his troops to strike east into Poland on September 1, 1939. 2 days later, on September 3, France and Great Britain declared war on Germany. World War II had begun, and last that 2 years after that, Hitler scraped his back with Stalin and sent some 3 million Nazi soldiers boarding in the Soviet Union on June 22, 1941. 4 years later, with no hope of a German victory in World War II, Hitler committed suicide of April 30, 1945. On May 8, an alliance accepted Nazi German surrender. The Battle of the Crux is one of the most memorable stages in the story of the Second World War. He marked the failures of Nazi Germany's attack on Soviet troops, after the two had also been involved in the Battle of Stalingrad. In the latter pledge, Germany lost even third in format a coalition with Italy, Uruguay, Romania, and Croatia. Crux region, the Soviet Union was indeed in front of the forefront of the Nazi territory at that time. That war began on July 5, 1943 in the morning at 5:30, when Hitler forces began an attack called Operation Kitobel. With great strength, 9 infantry division and a panzer division, complete with assault weapons, heavy tanks, including Tigers and destroyers. German forces surged forward and circling far on the north and south. On the south side, as Lloyd Clark noted in the book Crux and Great Battle and Stern, for 1943, 3 was kept in the border in former German bombing, which was used to storm Soviet troops in Kursk. Tiger tank units were immediately moved to attack through this gap. It turned out that the Soviet Red Army had provided 19 T-34 tanks to force the German attack.
During the 3 hours of fighting, the Red Army lost 42 of its tanks, while the Germans lost 2 Tiger tanks and 5 others were damaged. The Soviet counterattack could still be defeated by the German army in the first battle, but delayed at movement of troops in the next build for a long time. On this first day, the Panzer Corps was able to penetrate 9.7 kilo into the Red Army defense. The Red Army lost 1,287 of its troops dead and missing 5,921 were injured. In the days that followed, the Soviets responded with a counter-attack under the direction of Marshal Konstantin Rokossovsky. Although the numbers were not significant and no major counter-attack operation had yet been launched, the role of tanks unit in the large number is very important in crippling each other attack. While the attack on the south side, which was launched early at 4 o'clock, with the bombardment carried out by the 4th Panzer Hold Army. From the Soviet stronghold, the 22 and 23 Rifle Guard Corps were ready to confront and fight. 3 layers of defense belt were also prepared by the Soviets to slow down and weaken Germany armored strength. On July 12, it was the turn of the Soviet Union to officially launch a major counterattack against Germany called Operation Kutuzov. The designation against Operation Citadel was taken mainly because German forces had already deployed prominent trenches in the city or Orel, even though the northern side of Germany was weakening. The Bryan forces, under the command of Markinov Popov, attacked the eastern side of Orel. The western front, attacked by the north side of Vasily Sokolovsky, was led by the 11th Guards Corps under Lieutenant General Johannes Bagramian, with the support of Corps Tank 1 and 5. On the south side, it was only on August 12 that the Soviets launched an attack called Operation Polkovets Raniasev, which was intended to bring down the 4th Panzer Corps and expand Soviet army power in the south. This attack before Freud, the city of Kharkov was recaptured at August 23. Indeed, a scary of attack on the south side has been changing since August 3 and continues to expand with the Soviet success in capturing the city of Belganov on 5 August. After this series of Soviet attacks, Germany had to admit defeat. They were pushed back to return to their territory as where they had originally begun the attack. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, the German attack of the Soviet on the Kurds was actually designed to plan a surprise on the north and south sides, with the hope of destroying Soviet troops in the outposts of the Kursk region.
On July 12, it was the turn of the Soviet Union to officially launch a major counterattack against Germany called Operation Kutuzov. The decision against Operation Citadel was taken mainly because German forces had already displayed prominent strength in the city of Orel, even though the northern side of Germany was weakening. The Bryansk Front, under the command of Marian Popov, attacked the eastern side of Orel. The Western Front, ordered by the northern side of Vasily Sokolovsky, was led by the 11th Guards Corps under Lieutenant General Hofheinz Bagramian, with the support of Corps Tank 1 and 5. Freezer, the Eastern Front 1943 to 1945. The war in the east and on the neighboring front. On the south side, it was only on August 12 that the Soviets launched an attack called Operation Polkov Kodet from Yatet, which was intended to bring down the 4th Panzer Corps and expand Soviet army power in the south. This attack bore fruit. The city of Kharkov was recaptured on August 23. In that series of attacks on the south side has been ongoing since August 3. The continue the expand with the Soviet success in capturing the Soviet of Belgorod on August 5. After the series of Soviet attacks, Germany had to admit defeat. They were pushed back to return their territory as when they had originally begun the attack, according to Encyclopedia Britannica. The German attack on the Soviet on the Kursk was actually designed to plan a surprise attack on the north and south side with the hope of destroying Soviet troops in the Kursk region. However, the Soviet has foreseen that the Kursk region would become sporadic point of attack by Germany. So the country prepared for its troops and war unity, including thousands of battle tanks. The other most striking thing about the Kursk battle series is the number of number used by both parties. During Operation Citadel, Germany deployed 2,465 actively Operation Tank while the Soviet were 4,938. When the Soviet launched a counterattack, the country involved 8,200 tanks, while Germany deployed 2,699. Regarding the loss of troops, Russian military historian Grigory Krivoseyev was quoted in the battle for Kursk. 100
100 9043. The Soviet General Staff study by Glenn and Orenstein said there were 1077 8077 casualties on the Soviet side during the war. On the German side, according to Fraser, based on German archival record, Operation Citadel claimed 455 182 victims with 9,036 of them killed, 1,960 reported missing, and 43 1,059 injured. A total of 300 2,090 people were killed in Operation Kutuzov, launched by the Soviet. 6,549 injured and 11,300 missing, who are thought to have been killed or capturing. Evaluation in the NSC was defeated by the Soviet Union, and the world was indebted to Uni Soviet for winning the battle. Nazi was defeated by the Soviet Union with a very good tactic, which was to surround all Nazi troops with assistance from several European countries during the Second World War in Europe.